Welcome to Frontier Behavioral Health's Real Recovery, Real Change. And now, here's your host, Ashley Carroll.
Hello, I'm Ashley Carroll. Welcome to Real Recovery, Real Change. Tonight, you're going to meet Maranda-Goble, a wife, mom, and professional nurse that has a story so many of us can relate to. Then we will meet Allison. She will talk about the hidden disease of mental health and the toll it can take and the addiction it can lead to. First, let's meet Maranda-Goble.
I remember fishing out of the creek, catching crawdads. My class was 69 people back in the day. You know, it's small, everybody's mommy knew everybody, everybody's daddy. So if one kid was somewhere, everybody's kids were together. There wasn't no second guessing, not anything like now. Everybody got together. Every holiday, all 8 brothers and sisters came in, everybody's kids came in, hanging out on grandma's porch, rook tournaments around. There'd be 4 tables, you lose, you get up, you move to the next one. When rook was over, then you go to spades, because not everybody played spades, not everybody played rook. Everybody cooked, just get together. There wasn't a Christmas that went by when I was little that I can't remember everybody being at grandma's for Christmas. Literally, I don't remember a whole lot of anything other than hanging out with just the people where you grew up, you know, playing in the yard, having them at your house. Like I said, cane pole, piece of fishing line to the creek, catching minnows, catching fish, catching crawdads. Like, you could spend a whole day just doing that. It didn't have to be going somewhere, buying something, anything like that. It was just family time. And I can't look back and ever have harsh memories or thoughts about anything the way I grew up. We didn't grow up in middle class even, you know, we were lower class, but it never mattered. You know, everything that you needed was there. You didn't care if your clothes were what was in. Like, that's, I think back to junior high, and it's when MC Hammer was big, and it was the silk shirts and those fly pants, and, you know, for real, like, that was 7th grade. That was the thing. Like, it never mattered if you had it or not back then. You know, everybody knew everybody. Everybody didn't have to have the finest or the best, or we all just were. So at 16, my mom passed away from lung cancer. So that shifted us on a move to Floyd County, because that's where my dad's family was from. They just got divorced. You know, they had a long history, and when she passed away, they were divorced. So then I ended up moving. That was all great. You know, I was 16 years old, a senior, switched high schools. That really wasn't a phasing moment. Went to college. That was fine. Went to EKU, carried a 4.0. That was fine. Then me and my dad clashed, because he's hard-headed and so am I. So he's like, hey, I switched my major to journalism. I was in nursing at the time. I was like, I just don't want to do this. I love to write. So I switched, started working at the newspaper, living that life. Like, I loved it. He didn't agree with that, because we were paying for college out of pocket back then. So he quit paying, I came home. And then it still wasn't bad. I got a job. I got 2 jobs, because that way I could afford things in life. That was fine. I didn't have a shift to alcoholism until my adult life.
I'm a dad just like you, and I have a daughter that's fallen into the grip of opioids. Do I see my daughter as a bad person, a criminal, a drug addict? No. I still see her as my daughter, with a tough behavioral problem that can be treated. That's why I wanted you to know about Frontier Behavioral Health. They see your family the same way. They treat the behavior and send the person you always knew back to you. Call them at 606-297-1501. Real recovery, real change. Frontier Behavioral Health.
Real Recovery, Real Change continues with Ashley Carroll.
Maranda-Goble, a single mom with a great career. But in order to balance life, addiction would take over. Let's continue with Miranda's story.
So I had been married 15, 16 years. I went back to school, got my nursing degree, went back, got my bachelor's in nursing. Then, you know, I started travel nursing after I worked at Pikeville for a while. When you're away from home and you come home, and there's all these responsibilities that your other person's supposed to help take care of, because you're out providing more, you know, trying to do more. I've got 2 kids, and I come home and everything's the same. You know, all the stuff at home's the same. There's laundry not done. There's stuff that needs to be done. Nobody goes to the grocery store. None of the basic everyday things ever got done, to where I just started hating coming home and feeling like no matter what I did, I couldn't get help, like I was drowning. I was drowning because I was working full time, then I'd come home and everything from the house still had to be done. I literally felt like I couldn't get my head above water. But when you're emotionally unsatisfied, it messes with you more. It messes with your mental health. Even though everything to the outside appears perfect, nobody knows what the inside feels. It was social to start with. And then as it spiraled out of control to where you're not happy every day and you can't keep asking for somebody to meet you halfway, you just get tired. And you don't want to argue, and you don't want to think about it. So it started with social drinking. Then it was like, well, I'm gonna have a drink before bed. That'd be fine. Well, then you work night shift, and to me, it made sense. It's like you get home at 7, that's my nighttime. So then you'd pour a glass in the morning before you go to bed, because I just self-medicated with alcohol. Yeah, you didn't have to think about anything. I stopped traveling, came home, took a job at home, and then you're faced with going home to that every night. Every night of no help. We're all here at night. I come in, you're sitting on your phone, living your best life. There's house responsibilities, there's 2 kids, there's the grocery store, there's still nothing changed. And it was like, traveling, at least you got that little 3-day break. You know, you take care of stuff, go to work, come home, didn't see it. But when it's in your face every single day and nothing gets better, it's like, I just want to sleep through it. I just want to go to bed and sleep at night. And I remember going to work and going, okay, if I get off at this time, I can stop at the liquor store. It doesn't close till this time, so I have something tonight to go to bed with. That's when you know it's a problem. When you have to start planning your day to stop to get something to take home. I'm very honest with my children. They're aware I went to rehab. They sat in church even then, and I said, you know, they knew, they could see differences in mom. To my kids, like, why? And then it got to the point I couldn't manage daily things. You know, I could see that I wasn't present and accounted for like I should be. Or you're hungover, you don't feel good, you don't want to do as much with them. And it just kept spiraling till you just can't. And you know, I went to rehab, and I remember the first night. They came to church, I checked myself in on Monday. They came on Wednesday. And I had 2 kids with their tears rolling down their eyes going, is my mommy better? And they're like, we're working on it. Like, that's the point that you know all they want's more for you. I was rock bottom. There was nowhere to go but up. You know, every purpose in life that I felt like I had and everything that I had accomplished, I felt like none of that existed that day. That morning, Joyce Meyer preached on purpose that says where God places you in purpose, He will provide. And He will give you provisions for where He provides, not where you choose to provide. She preached on it that morning on that telecast. We went to church that Wednesday night, and the pastor preached the same sermon. And I said, God, I hear you. In rehab, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to come out of this as a nurse on the other side. I kept my faith strong. Still, you know, that's just the solid foundation now. Started working at Frontier. I've succeeded well there. And I was like, okay, God, you know, Randy placed me in a purpose. And I tell him all the time, we have the conversation, you saw purpose in me before I saw purpose. And he's like, certain people are meant for certain things. And so He placed me in my purpose. And like God said, He will provide provisions when you stay in your purpose. And I've sat still since last year in that purpose. And then 2 weeks ago, I graduated with, I already had my nurse practitioner license. I passed boards 2 weeks ago. So my purpose has provisions still today. They just keep building on as long as I'm staying in the purpose I was meant for. Because I feel like my purpose is still right where I'm sitting. God put me there for a reason. I didn't just end up somewhere by chance. Like I like getting off, going home, having a life with my family. I'm not trying to avoid it. I'm not avoiding being home anymore. You know, that's kind of what it was. You avoid being there because you know all that deals with. There's nothing to have to deal with anymore. It's just getting to enjoy life on a different level with my kids again. My children are great. They could care less who Mom used to be. And I talk about it in rehab. I'm like, those kids are not going to care 2 years from now who you are right now. They want you recovered. They want you in life. And I speak that from experience. My kids don't care who I used to be. They remember it, but they don't hold it against me. It's undying love and affection. My ex-husband and I get along great for the most part. We still clash on what I think the kids should have, what they don't, but we grew up different. I didn't grow up with little rules, or my mama would have beat me, probably dead near killed me over some things. Like if I talked back, there was not a second option. But other than that, we get along fine. Probably better now than married. So it's good. Like there is no harm in admitting that something's wrong. The harm for you is it not admitting at this point. There is a and I get it. There's a stigma with work. There's a stigma with people that know you. Like you're this, but our outwardly is not what matters at the end of the day. It's the contentness that you have to hold when you lay your head down at night. And I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Maranda is proof of success, now as a nurse practitioner and mom. With her experience with addiction, she is now helping men and women know that there can be real recovery, real change. Now let's meet Allison Hamilton. How do you explain mental health? Even if it's just to reach out to someone and let them know you're sad. Allison could only hide it through addiction. Here is her story.
I was born in Pike County, and I was raised in Floyd County on Prater Creek. Had a really happy childhood. Just me and my sister. We lived close to my cousins because, family always lives so close together. We was a very close-knit family, very loving. Played outside a lot when I was little. I was just very, very happy and normal. I was National Honor Society in high school and went on to college, made the Dean's List a couple of years in a row, and just was very smart. I would be sad, like as a teenager, and I wouldn't know why. But, I kept it to myself. A lot of people that are depressed, they learn to put up a mask and appear to be normal and appear to be okay. So, being sad and not wanting to tell anybody, I wanted to take care of it myself. So I started self-medicating in my teenage years, probably about 18. When you have a depression or anxiety, and you don't want to talk about it, or your family doesn't know about it, it's just really hard for somebody to understand. So when nobody understands you, you get lonely, you feel alone, you feel lost, you feel like you're not part of society, you block it out. I was ashamed, and just confused because I didn't know why I was feeling that way. So I put my trust in pain pills. That was my first love. It was before men, before children. I had pain pills. They were there when I was sad, they were there when I was happy. You could take whatever you wanted to from me, but my addiction stayed.
I'm a dad just like you, and I have a daughter that's fallen into the grip of opioids. Do I see my daughter as a bad person, a criminal, a drug addict? No, I still see her as my daughter, with a tough behavioral problem that can be treated. That's why I wanted you to know about Frontier Behavioral Health. They see your family the same way. They treat the behavior and send the person you always knew back to you. Call them at 606-297-1501. Real recovery, real change. Frontier Behavioral Health.
Real recovery, real change continues with Ashley Carroll.
Being honest with mental health and your addiction is twice as tough. Let's continue with Allison's story.
Me and my friend, we were just having a really good time, and she had a green and pink tin. Back then, they had colors on the pills. Now they just make them white. But she crushed them up, and she asked me if I wanted a line, and I did it. And I remember walking back in and feeling amazing. I didn't feel. I felt like I could talk to everybody, and I felt like I wasn't ashamed. I stood tall. And when you talk about pain pills, it's also for a mental pain. People use it for physical pain, but in my case, I was using it for a mental pain, just for something to feel different. I mean, it didn't matter what different it was, but as long as it was different, as long as it wasn't the same as I was feeling. You learn how to hide it, how to use it, how to keep it from people, where to get it, how to get it. You know, it's like your training drug. You figure out how to do things. And like I said, I learned from her, like how to get them, how to hide them, how to do it without anybody knowing. I learned at an early age that people are really superficial, so what you appear is what you are. So if you appear fine, no one will bother you. No one's gonna say, oh, she looks like a pillhead when she's dressed good, she has makeup on, and she looks healthy. So nobody's gonna suspect a thing. I knew how to go about it. I mean, that's the manipulation, the deception of an addict. Like, you know, you learn how far to push it, and like as long as you're not nodding out, and you know you're not falling asleep in public, or you're not doing the normal things that a drug addict would do, then nobody looks at you. You're different. When I was 20, I knew that I needed to be needed, because without being needed, I didn't feel like I had a place in this world, you know. So I knew I wanted to have kids, and you know, like any young woman wants the kids, the family, you know, the whole thing. So I got pregnant with my oldest son, and at that time I quit doing everything because, like I said, I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a better person than what I was. So I actually quit everything until my youngest son was 2. And then it started back with full force. Things didn't work out with me and their father. Like we got married and, you know, had the boys, and then it just didn't work out, and we got divorced at that time. So now I was a single mother of 2 boys, and I lived vicariously through my boys. You know, I threw myself into being a mother, like, because I didn't know what else to do. I needed something to occupy my mind, and that's what I knew. But then when the stress came, and you know, I was alone again, I went back to what made me feel not alone, which was my pain pills. When my boys started getting older and started to not need me as much. I mean, I know a boy will always need his mother, but they developed their own personalities. They had their own friends. They were creating their own life, which left me with a life I didn't know what to do with. For so many years, I watched what they wanted to watch on TV. I ate what they wanted to eat. I had done what they wanted to do. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what shows I watched. I didn't know what kind of food I liked, because I had lived for them for so long. And the drugs started getting a little bit more excessive than pain pills. You know, and being an addict, I tried everything. I mean, in every way, I tried everything, just to get rid of who I was, myself. I let go, you know. I had held on for her so long and held my head above water. I wanted to drown. And, you know, I'm in my 40s, and I felt like I had nothing else to live for. Like, my plan was to die in addiction. Like, I had no plan of getting better. I had absolutely no plan of going to rehab. I had no plan of a future. I mean, that I was going to die an addict, and that was okay with me at that time. It got to where I was shooting up. I would mix heroin and meth. They call it speedballing. Like, I was nodding out in public. Like, I didn't care anymore. I looked the part. I looked like the drug addict then, because I didn't want to. I didn't care if I maintained what I looked like. I just quit. I gave up, and I wanted it to take me over. I wanted it to take me out. And in my head, you know, I had raised my kids. I wasn't married. You know, I thought, what's the point? You know, I mean, what am I holding on for? When I would get really bad, I would isolate. Like, I wouldn't call my family. I wouldn't go around them, because in my head, I was keeping I was keeping them from seeing how horrible it was. But what I was really doing was just keeping myself from them and keeping them in constant worry and constant, you know, just a constant thought that maybe I was dead. And then it got to the point where if I was dead, then they wouldn't have to worry anymore. And so that was the thought.
I'm a dad just like you, and I have a daughter that's fallen into the grip of opioids. Do I see my daughter as a bad person, a criminal, a drug addict? No, I still see her as my daughter, with a tough behavioral problem that can be treated. That's why I wanted you to know about Frontier Behavioral Health. They see your family the same way. They treat the behavior and send the person you always knew back to you. Call them at 606-297-1501. Real recovery, real change. Frontier Behavioral Health.
They found me passed out in the driveway. I had done too much Opana, which is an oxymorphone, and they was having a hard time waking me up, and that's when they knew that I had gone farther than I'd ever had, and farther than they had actually known about. When they found me in the driveway, my sister got a Casey law on me, which is the law that if you feel that your family member is a danger to themselves or anyone else, then you can have them sent to rehab, or if they don't go to rehab, it's a year in jail, 365 days. I was mad, you know, why can't I do what I wanted to do? Why can't I die the way I wanted to die? Why can't, you know, why is it up to them? What did they want to keep me around for? But then, you know, I had spent 90 days in rehab, and, you know, eventually, you know, I calmed down, started being a little bit grateful for everything. I did the 90 days in rehab and the 90 days out, and at that time they put me on Suboxone, which is to help you get off, you know, opioids or whatever you're addicted to. And it helped for a minute, but as an addict, I cannot have any mood-altering substance. It doesn't matter what it is, because I will abuse it. Even now, like, I have to be careful with my Zoloft or with my Wellbutrin or with anything that I take, because anything that will alter my mood, I will abuse it. I felt that people were trying to cure me with another drug, so why couldn't I do the drugs I wanted to do? Because it's okay to do theirs, you know. In my brain, my addictive brain could not distinguish between a drug I needed and a drug I wanted. So it was easy to go back to abusing everything, you know. So my second stint in rehab, I didn't want any Suboxone. I didn't want anything like that. I wanted to just be completely without drugs. I mean, like I said, I'm still on my mental meds, like Zoloft and Wellbutrin and stuff, but it is a day-to-day challenge to keep control of that, you know, not to take an extra, not to overdo it one day, not to get so mad that I want to take 2 or 3 of them at a time. It is a constant struggle in my head. It is a constant battle. I didn't want to mask the problem anymore. I wanted to figure out why I felt the way I did, why I thought the way I did. And it was a lot of soul-searching, a lot of, you know, just reaching deep and trying to figure out who Allison was, and trying to see who the real me was, like who I was without pain pills, who I was without kids, who I was without anybody, like who I was. I needed to relearn myself and to fall in love with myself, because for so many years I'd hated myself. I'd hated who I was and how I was. So it took a minute to try to fall in love with me, like take myself out to dinner, you know, just try to woo myself into loving myself. And it's been a struggle. Allison, today I've been sober for 7 months. This is the longest stretch I've ever been without drugs in probably about 18 years. I'm doing really good. I take it day by day, sometimes minute by minute, because it is hard. Any slight emotion, can get you off your track, and like with other addicts, you have an addict dying every day, and you think about like what set them off, what minute thought got them into that, back into it. Because just the slightest things that are normal for you are a mountain to me. That is the tiptoe that we have to do every day as an addict, because we have to check our reactions and check our motives and check everything every day. It's a balance, and you have to find that balance, and it's a hard thing to do. Like, a lot of people count their clean time, but my clean time is one day at a time. I don't mask a lot of my feelings, and I don't mask who I am, because I think it may help somebody else, because they're afraid to let people know how they feel. And if they see me and I'm being honest and I'm being open, and they see me struggling, they don't feel ashamed to struggle. Take it very slow, minute by minute if you have to. Don't let anybody tell you how well you are or how sick you are. That's up to you. You have to live your life, and you have to find your balance, because it's such a touchy scale. One little thing on either end, and you're right back to where you started. The biggest thing is to be honest. You have to work an honest program. You have to find support in other sober people, but you have to be honest. Like we tend to hide the things we do and how we do them, like, because that's what we've done. We've hid for so long, and society has told us that we are horrible people, but we're not horrible people. We are wonderful people with a bad habit. I mean, some of the addicts are the most generous, most loving people I've ever met in my life, but society has labeled us as horrible, as bad people. You don't want to be around them, you don't want to be them. But, we're all good. We all have good in us.
Allison is living and fighting day by day to continue life, but it is one day at a time in a fight we pray she will win. For Miranda, she is working with patients on a daily basis, showing them along with her family that there can be real recovery, real change. I'm Ashley Carroll. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching Real Recovery, Real Change. Special thanks go out to the historic Mountain Home Place for being used as a studio set. This program has been a production of Frontier Behavioral Health. For immediate help, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, dial 606-297-1501. 606-297-1501.